Hello and welcome to the AIDEM Risala Update Interactions. We have once again with us Yogendra Yadav, political activist, who has been consistently working on the ground over the last few months. And after the Lok Sabha elections and the formation of the new government, one of the major topics that he has been addressing is the issue of caste census and how the whole process should not be diluted. But then, since we have Yogendra with us, we are not going to confine to that topic. We'll look at some of the developments or developing political stories that are happening in this country, including the forthcoming assembly elections to Haryana and Jammu and Kashmir. Yogendra, welcome once again.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think we are just going to see the first phase of polling in Jammu and Kashmir in the next couple of days. And of course, Haryana is also going to poll in early October. So, what is your sense at this point of time as to how things are developing in these two states?
Venkat, honestly, I've not been to any of the states as yet. I mean, I traveled to Haryana because it's my home state, but not really to observe elections. And therefore, I don't think I'm the right person to comment on the trends. Also, one of the things I said after the Lok Sabha election was that I'm actually not going to make any election forecast. I had to do it under very, very special circumstances. I don't want to get into that business again. You were very kind to cover it at that point, and it was important. It was a national duty at that time to say these things. Now, this is one more election. In Jammu and Kashmir, to my mind, the most important thing is that the elections are happening.
Okay.
That this should be a step towards restoration of statehood and possibly of some kind of special autonomy that Jammu Kashmir has enjoyed and which is necessary and essential to retain that bridge and bond that we have created with Jammu Kashmir. So in that sense, irrespective of the outcome, the more important thing is elections are being held, that people are participating, and let the democratic process be in full flow. That's what matters to me more than anything else. It also exposes, in a sense, the big claims that the BJP has been making. The BJP said that after abolition of 370, it has brought great boons to people of Jammu and Kashmir. It has completely normalized the situation, that people are welcoming of it. One of the tests is already conducted. The second remains to be done. If abolition of 370 had created such a wonderful situation in the Kashmir Valley, and if the people of Kashmir were so much welcoming of it, why did BJP not put up many candidates there? I mean, that's an odd thing, isn't it? If you have done such a great work in Odisha, you would go and put up candidates in Odisha. Why not? I mean, there's something odd. So, I mean, in a sense, that tells the lie of the first part of the claim. The second is about Jammu. I think we need to really see, because to my mind, abolition of 370 hasn't been a great idea for Jammu as well, because people of Jammu enjoyed a special status, mostly Hindus, but Jammu has Hindus as well as Muslims. They enjoyed a very special status and special rights as far as property is concerned and some other things are concerned. That right, however, has been taken away. So I don't think people of Jammu may be very happy with it, but let's see.
And also there is this question in Ladakh, because Ladakh has got a number of issues which are very specific to Ladakh.
Absolutely. And as you know, when Ladakh was made a union territory, the first response of the people was welcome it. We've been liberated, great, good riddance and so on. And frankly, the fact is that under the state of Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh was actually a very neglected territory. Politicians, both of Jammu and of Kashmir, didn't care very much for Ladakh. So yes, initially they thought this was great liberation, but then they realized that actually this is just being consigned to even further neglect. Earlier they were under the benign neglect of Srinagar. Now the benign neglect of Delhi, which is far more distant, more difficult. So now they're taking a march. Under Sonam Wangchuk, they are taking a march. It's a historic march. It's a very Gandhian thing to do. They're marching all the way from Ladakh to Delhi. So that really tells you something about the kind of situation that prevails. So to my mind, unfortunately, abolition of 370 did not improve the situation. It made matters worse. And let us hope that this election would be the beginning of mending the situation somewhat.
Right, right.
On Haryana, I think the simple fact is that Congress enjoys a very significant advantage. It's a beginning advantage. I don't know what the final outcome will be, but at the starting point of the race, Congress starts strong. It starts strong for 2 or 3 reasons. One, psephologically speaking, simply looking at the lie of the land, Congress and BJP got 5 seats each. Now we know, if we go by 2019, whatever BJP's performance in Lok Sabha election, in a state election, BJP comes down substantially.
That has been the case in almost all states.
That's right. Haryana especially, you see, in 2019, BJP led in 79 out of 90 segments. And so nearly 80. And when it came to assembly election, BJP was down to 40. Now, it's 5 and 5 in terms of electoral segments. BJP led in 42 out of 90. So if from 80 they come down to 40, from 42, where would they come down? So that's one simple fact. Second is that in terms of, there's enormous anti-incumbency. When they had to remove Mr. Khattar after 9 years of rule, you clearly are admitting that we can't go with this face to the local election. So you've conceded defeat.
Right.
Mr. Naib Singh Saini is mostly a harmless person who has left no impact whatsoever. Most people in Haryana would not even know his name. So they go without face. They go with enormous anti-incumbency. That's the second.
And also the internal problems with even a minister refusing to shake hands with him.
All kinds of. So Haryana is once again a situation where BJP's internal faction fight almost matches Congress. In fact, almost kind of outmatches the Congress, which happens very, very rarely because Congress is a party known for open display of disaffections. BJP maintains that outer facade, but even that outer facade is broken in the case of Haryana. And the third factor is with the coming of Vinesh and the recent developments, organizational and others. So with all these 3 things, Congress has a step forward. Congress has an initial advantage. The real question is how much of that initial advantage would Congress be able to convert into elections? Will it be a thin victory which Congress just somehow manages? Will it be a landslide?
These are
the kind of range that we are looking at.
So basically, what is the AAP factor going to do? Because we had a lot of discussions on whether the Aam Aadmi Party, and there will be some alliance between the Aam Aadmi Party and in some pockets with Samajwadi Party. But then Samajwadi Party finally has said that that they will support the Congress without making any demands. But the Aam Aadmi Party situation is quite tricky, and also with the release of Arvind Kejriwal at a crucial juncture, it's also being seen as a ploy by the central government. I mean, of course, the bail has not been granted by the central government per se, but it's being seen as something the central government has worked out to kind of field Arvind Kejriwal in Haryana against the Congress. How do you look at the situation?
I don't know these things. I wouldn't read political motives in the Supreme Court's judgment. It could well be a coincidence. It helps the Aam Aadmi Party. But honestly, when much of this conversation about Aam Aadmi Party alliance with Congress in Haryana began, I was quite confused because purely electorally speaking, Congress does not need any alliance in Haryana. In Rajasthan, they did. They did not do the alliances and they paid very badly for that. In Haryana, they don't need an alliance. A, because Congress is doing fairly well. B, because Aam Aadmi Party really does not have I mean, I can't think of a single candidate who I would at this stage say he's a winnable candidate.
Okay.
There was one, Nirmal Singh from Ambala, who shifted to Congress anyway.
Right.
With his daughter. So they don't have that kind of support. I can't think of any constituency where Aam Aadmi Party would
Can
say
make a huge
10,000
impression.
votes of
Huge
its-
impression.
yeah, would have a substantial number of votes of party, not of candidate.
Right.
Which it can transfer to another party like Congress. I can't think of those places. So the alliance, in a sense, was a non-starter. It did not happen, and that doesn't surprise me. In terms of prospects of Aam Aadmi Party, I don't see it making a huge difference in Haryana. They would be lucky if they save deposit in a few constituencies. Saving deposit is not easy. In a handful of constituencies, they might save deposit. And it's anybody's guess as to who exactly will they damage.
Right.
If Aam Aadmi Party does well in urban areas, the damage would be to the BJP,
Okay.
not so much to the Congress. So really, I don't see that being a very major factor in Haryana politics in this election. As for Samajwadi Party has generally been non-existent in Haryana, unlike Madhya Pradesh.
Yeah.
You see, Madhya Pradesh Samajwadi Party has a presence in a few areas.
Yeah.
And it was a mistake on the part of Congress not to go for an alliance with Samajwadi Party in Madhya Pradesh. But in Haryana, they are largely non-existent.
Yeah, I think they must be
So
confined
it's
to a
a-
couple of seats or something like that.
Possible,
Not-
not
yeah.
even that.
Yeah.
So it's a nice gesture on the part of Akhileshji to say that, okay, I'll support that. But these are in the range of gestures. There's no substantial votes that anyone can transfer there.
Yeah. What about the infighting in the Congress? In fact, there are some areas where this infighting has got some kind of concrete ramifications. Like, for example, Kiran Chaudhary's area, the constituencies that...
Kiran Chaudhary ji had shifted to the BJP even before the Lok Sabha elections. So
Yeah.
that no longer counts as a Congress infighting. In an election which a party is expected to win, you're bound to have 30 contenders for every seat. And when I was looking at the data this morning, they say Congress has 29 rebels in 20 constituencies and BJP has some 20 rebels in 15 constituencies. Not much of a difference.
Okay.
I would have expected much bigger rebellion.
Within
I
the
would have-
Congress.
but I mean, a party which is expected to
Win.
largely seen to be winning, you have multiple contenders. And Congress is not the BJP with that kind of iron discipline and things, and Prime Minister making a call to withdraw and things of that sort don't happen in Congress. So to be absolutely honest, I'm actually surprised that the rebellion is smaller than what I had expected it to be. And the gap between Congress and the BJP is not as much as I would have expected it to be.
Right.
So again, I don't expect that to become a very, very big factor this time, so far.
Okay, coming to the caste reservation and caste census aspect, which of course you have been very consistently kind of talking about over the last couple of months. And today, of course, the new development that one read in today's papers is that the JDU has now very categorically stated that caste census has to happen at the national level. And apparently the BJP leadership has also agreed to it. What do you make out of all this?
You know, I think first we should understand what is caste census and why it is needed, because so much confusion and so much of complete inability and refusal to understand. This morning I read a Times of India editorial saying, oh my God, save this country from caste census. And I'm amazed at this mindset. You know, I think we should clarify a few things. The first thing that we must tell our viewers again and again is that caste census is not a casteist attempt. In fact, precisely because you want to abolish caste, you want to annihilate caste, is why you need a caste census. You know, the idea that there is some social identity that you don't approve of, therefore you just close your eyes and it will disappear. That's a very stupid idea. the way you address any form of inequality in the world is not by wishing it away, but by opening your eyes, by addressing it frontally. So, people like me, all of us who are opposed to the inequalities of caste system and who want to abolish it, must begin by recognizing, categorizing, measuring, developing cause-effect relationships so that we can eliminate it.
Right.
And caste census is an absolutely first step in that direction. Somehow, everyone mixes, in a slip of tongue, you also said caste reservation, caste census.
Yeah.
Because in everyone's mind, these two things are completely mixed.
Yeah.
And today's Times of India editorial, it's a rant against caste reservations, whether they like it or not. But I've been saying one thing. The second clarification is this. Reservations and census are two entirely different things. Anyone who is honestly opposed to caste-based reservations should support the caste census. Because those people who oppose caste-based reservations say that, look, caste is no longer relevant. It used to be relevant 100 years ago. Today you have rich and poor in every community, every caste. So give advantage to poor. Why bother about caste? If that is indeed the case, let us get caste census done. We would get to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
If someone says there is no difference between men and women when it comes to salary, how do you settle that claim? You do it by doing a survey and saying, okay, women get this much. For the same job, men get this much. Or maybe they get equal. We don't know. What amazes me, Venkat, is that people are opposed to diagnosis. Caste census is nothing but a diagnostic tool. It is not a medicine. It is not a surgery. It simply is an X-ray.
Absolutely.
And why should people oppose an X-ray is an amazing thing. I think it shows a certain mindset. And my suspicion is this. So suppose I have a fall and I'm saying, Venkat, looks bad. Should we go and get an X-ray done? And you as my friend may say, no, maybe you don't need it. That's all right. But when I actually go towards hospital and you stand in the way and say, no, I shall not let you get this X-ray, then I wonder whether you are my friend or not. That's really what's happening. I suspect that those who opposed caste census actually know what the census will reveal. And after all, it's not such a major mystery in our country. I think everyone has 2 or 3 suspicions, which they don't talk about. They know this to be true, but they don't want it to be authenticated. First, everyone knows that the number of the sheer population size of the deprived communities, especially OBCs, is much bigger than is the reservation for them, much bigger than anyone acknowledges it to be the case. And that the upper caste are much smaller in size than they like to believe it to be the case, as we saw in the case of Bihar. Everyone used to claim upper castes are 20% plus. Even people like me believe that they are probably around 15%. When it happened, they are only 10.4%.
Absolutely.
That's the first thing. Second, people also, those who oppose caste census also know something more, which is that it will show that the condition of some of the OBCs is actually so bad. The educational, social and economic condition, in some ways worse than some of the scheduled caste communities. The lower, I've consistently maintained it, the bottom of the OBC.
Like which are the communities that
these are number one, OBC happens to contain within itself a large number of nomadic communities, which are called OBCs. Clearly their condition is worse than probably all the scheduled caste communities. In the case of and then there are service and artisanal communities within OBC. Those service and artisanal communities, dhobis in many of the states are in OBC category, not in SC. In some states SC, in some states OBC. Nai, there are many agricultural labor communities, their conditions are worse than that of the upper end of the SC. So the second suspicion people have is that the conditions are actually worse than we want to know. And the third, and I think the real suspicion, is that people know and believe that this will expose the privilege of the privileged. That is really where the opposition is coming from. Because the biggest privilege in the world is to not let your privileges be seen. To have a veil of ignorance over your suspicions is the biggest privilege in the world. And that is precisely what they are afraid of. I'll give you an instance from Bihar. Bihar has had caste survey. Bihar caste survey, if you look at the educational profile, unfortunately, the reporting in the media was so poor about Bihar caste survey, it hasn't shown the kind of things that it has brought about. If you look at those who have employable degrees, and an employable degree is either post-graduation or MBBS, BA, etc. I don't count ordinary BA as employable degree.
Okay.
So if you look at employable degrees, then among the Kayasthas, it is 10.08% of the entire Kayastha population.
Right.
Among the Bhunyas and Mosahars, it is 0.01. Do you see the relationship? It's 1,000 times of difference between these two. Now, this is what they don't want to come out. This is why the opposition to caste census. And that is precisely why we should push more and more of it. Because honestly, there are all kinds of questions that are debated every day in this country. Should sub-communities remain OBC or not?
So
these communities have become so powerful, they should not remain OBC. Well, then get caste census done. You'll get to know this.
Absolutely.
They say, should we have a subdivision within SC or OBC? Well, get a caste census done. You would be able to see whether some OBCs are doing relatively better, some are not. Or what should be the creamy layer? Get a caste census is evidence-based basis for any policy, which is exactly what judiciary has been demanding all these years. Why are people running away from evidence? Why is it that they are saying, don't put a thermometer in? No, thermometer. Why?
Now, of course, there seems to be an agreement across the political spectrum, including from the BJP. So, what do you think that, what are the kind of parameters that one needs to kind of, look at?
Look, I think it must be credited as Rahul Gandhi's first major political success. If the BJP is forced to go for caste census, the fact is BJP was most unwilling. This BJP, in the past BJP has supported it in the parliament. Now they were most unwilling to do it. The BJP did not want it. And therefore, if the BJP has now been forced to do it, it is clearly Congress, specifically Rahul Gandhi's success. We've been hearing for the last few days that the BJP is that they're not in principle opposed to it. Yeah. It's being considered. Although I must say, I still suspect a certain foul play. And the foul play could be this, and this is what we should guard against. The government could say, okay, like the SC and ST have always been enumerated. This people normally don't know. All the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe communities have always been enumerated. Their jati has been recorded, data has been prepared, etc. The government can say we will do the same in the case of OBC as well, which is to say we will have a caste census of 70% of Indian population, 75, 80, we don't know. But the privileges of the privileged will still be kept under the curtain.
So the parameters will be so designed that it will be just a number count and not a clear census or a process where their socio-economic conditions are...
No, that they can't do. That they can't do, because the moment you include one variable in the census, then, as you know, if you have one column, then you can do cross-tabulation with the remaining 49 columns. That they cannot prevent. The game will be to keep the upper caste out of this.
Okay.
They will say
Yeah.
SC, ST and OBC.
Okay.
And so the remaining 20% will be kept out. That could well be the case. I'm not sure if that would, the government would say, you know, why do it for others? We don't need it, and so on and so forth. So I don't still rule out some foul play in this.
Anyway, Yogendra, since you also been consistently, advocating the cause for the last few months, and especially after the elections, I think it's also partly a victory for you. I mean, of course, you said, it's of course Rahul Gandhi has been kind of championing it, and he has been very consistently taking it forward. But as you very rightly pointed out, there are lots of ifs and buts on this. And we'll continue to keep watching these ifs and buts, and of course, with you and along with others. Thank you very much for spending time with us.
Thank you. Thank you.